There we go.
It doesn't matter. It's up to you, really.
Oh yeah. No, for sure. There we go.
Oh,
there we go.
Handsome fella. Jesus. I'm going to turn my camera
I'm
off.
jealous of your hat. What are you talking about?
This is the shtick. This is the shtick.
Love it.
How you doing, man?
I'm good, bro. It's first of the new year. I'm excited. There's a lot of cool shit going on this year, so I'm stoked. I'm good.
Hell yeah, dude. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. What'd you do last night? Anything exciting?
Well, no, man. I don't have anything exciting going. I don't even drink, so it's like, what's New Year's to me? No,
I hear you. Yeah. I feel like we used to do stuff when I was younger. We'd go out, we'd, all kinds of fun shit.
Oh, yeah.
And then now I'm 41 and I'm like, I don't want to do anything. Like, I don't want to go anywhere. Like I had a buddy of mine, this other Jiu Jitsu guy who's in the area, and he's like, hey man, wife and I will come over and we'll have some champagne. And I'm like, we're actually just like eating sushi and watching Cobra Kai. Like I don't want to do anything,
Right. Yeah, that's such it's a young man's game, the New Year's thing. Seems like anyway. Either young or single, right? One of the two.
One of the two.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, my wife and I just did the same thing. She had some champagne. I just sat there and I had whatever the kids have, like the
like apple cider stuff.
Sparkling apple juice.
Yeah,
had some of that. So make me feel like one of the cool kids,
Right.
But yeah, nothing exciting going on really. Got an open mat today. Are you training today or?
I trained yesterday. I don't know. I think actually it's like they're doing it like around 11 or so.
Okay.
My buddy, but it's kind of far away. So I went yesterday and trained. Our school doesn't open up again until Monday. It was closed for like a week. My instructor was like, man, it's like the only week I get off in the whole year. We're like, yeah, bro, take it.
Yeah, you gotta
relax.
Appreciate the off time for sure. When you
Definitely.
can get it. Well, I know you told me a little bit about yourself, but if you want to break it down again, it sounds like you've been in the game for a hot minute.
Yeah, man.
Just give us an overview, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I was born and raised in Southern California. I moved to Virginia, like right before high school, and was involved in art and music for the majority of my life. That was always something that I just gravitated towards, graphic design, which I started when I was in about 8th grade, and grew up and ended up getting married kind of young at 25. And I started jiu-jitsu right after that. And I fell in love with it immediately. You know what I mean? I was one of those guys, and have been doing it for 16 years now. And a couple of years ago started Epic Roll, and it just, I'm a serial like entrepreneur, man. I can't sit still. I can't keep myself down. I always got to be doing stuff. And so I'm a little crazy like that.
Well, I heard about you from Chewy. He's always talking about you. I don't know if always, but it's come up. He's got, I think you guys, did you do a gi for him at one point?
So we didn't do a gi yet. We did a rash guard and fight shorts that the pre-sale actually just ended for that. And we are going to be doing some limited release things throughout the year. Okay. That tends to work really well. Like the stuff I'm doing with McDojo Life and with him and Mason Fowler, these one-off projects that are kind of limited release, almost that show your role model a little bit with how they did their keys. Creates a little bit of an allure. So yeah, so I've been working with Chewy for a minute. That's been an amazing relationship. He's an awesome guy, and his co-host Eugene, they've become good friends. And so I've really enjoyed working with them. It's funny because when I was first kind of putting Epic Roll out there and marketing, I came across him and was looking at it, and I was talking to my wife. I was like, I'm going to reach out to this guy. I was like, this would be maybe a good relationship to help, with Epic Roll, and maybe I can design some cool stuff for him, whatever. She's like, he is not going to wear your stuff. Like he's got his own Chewy brand of stuff. Like he's not going to wear, like this guy's on YouTube, he's got all this stuff. What are you talking about? And I'm like, all right. So I actually record a video of me talking to him and introducing myself. And I'm very easy when I approach people with this kind of stuff. I don't, have people approach me like, hey, you want to review my product? And, we'll give you a good price, on it. I'm like, no, that's not how this works,
Yeah.
So I'm very easy with people. And I contact him and I just made this message explaining who I am and what Epic Roll is. And, I'd love to send him some of my stuff to check out and see what he thinks. Very easy, right? But I did that. I recorded the video, made it all professional looking. I actually put it on a little Chewbacca hard drive. And then I packaged everything up, put it all together and sent it to him. And then in my head, I was like, if this guy gets this package and just completely ignores it, like, fuck him. You know what I mean? Like, what an asshole. Like if they because I put a lot of effort into this. And of course he did not. So I won the bet with my wife and I was like, you thought he wasn't going to wear it. And then I was on his podcast. Like, what are you talking about? Like, now we're friends,
That's so
it's the power of the community of jiu-jitsu. But he's a cool guy. He's just got a lot to offer, a lot of great knowledge. And you could just tell when I was I had the opportunity to visit his school and train with him. And you could tell he just is a good dude who really loves jiu-jitsu and loves teaching and loves building his little community. And he's cultivated a really cool environment there,
Oh, definitely. Like I said, well, you've been in the game forever. I've only been in the game a little over 3 years. But since day one, he's like the YouTube guy. Like, he's the guy. Everyone finds him, I would say.
I mean, I look at my sales and, people have that jiu-jitsu discount that we offer with him and I can see how many people use it. I mean, he definitely is out there, it's been huge and it's really great. I try to make him look good by helping design cool stuff and, and he has the distribution and network to get out there. And so it's a very symbiotic mutual relationship and, works very well. So.
Yeah, I'm a fan of how versed he is. Where if you might look up Kimura finishes, and then he'll have a video up there, and then or you could be like, man, I'm really down in the dumps. I'm not. Should I quit jiu-jitsu? And then you type that in like I'm whatever you want to type it on YouTube, and he'll have a video on it. I had a student one time, and he'll always have a story to relate, and it's like. All topics, like I'm on top of the world, I'm down in the dumps, I need a technique, he's got it.
Absolutely he's great at that. And it's taken a long time. We've talked a lot about social media and how people don't care for a while. You really have to put it out there and just grow it. I mean, he's just a guy, there was nothing special, it was nothing whatever. He was just a guy who put himself out there and started growing the content and became a resource in the space.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. It's definitely not easy because there's a long time where no one's paying attention to you. A long time. Imagine how many times his first YouTube videos, probably no one watched them, and then you just keep putting it out there. You said you did art. Excuse me. You focused a lot on art. Was that in high school or before high school?
I think I was always drawing as a kid.
Okay.
Even in class and everything, just always drawn to art, painting, anything artistic that was not math or science, that was my jam. And so as I got a little bit older, I had an opportunity to get into graphic design and did that for a while. I had a company with a buddy of mine, and I'd say throughout my whole adult life, whether I was managing health clubs or consulting or, running a business, I sort of was always able to use that artistic side within these businesses. So it's not, even with my real estate business, I have all of our own branding, our marketing, our logos, everything. So with Epic Roll, that's another one of those gratifying aspects that I have where I get to do something I'm passionate about, as a business, and get to utilize that skill. It's not like I went to college for something and never, get to use it. So
right. So do you design all or most of your stuff at Epic Roll? Because I've always wondered that. I'm sure there's apparel out there, and the guy who runs it, or the guy who had the idea of it, isn't an artist. So it seems like you kind of jump that valley and you knock out two birds. Is that kind of how it works, or do you have a designer?
Yeah, no, I design every bit of my clothes, every product, everything on the website, everything on Instagram, all the designs, um, which, is kind of what I bring to the table with this. It wasn't like I was really prepared and knew how to start a clothing brand. It was more I had to figure that out, but I did know that I felt fairly confident that I had a good amount of designs that I could contribute in this space, because I had all of the Choke Republic and, Toro brand and all these different shirt companies that are kind of out there that you might see at tournaments. I had all those, and I just felt that there was maybe a little bit lacking in a lifestyle brand for jiu-jitsu. It was kind of very aggressive, or it was, very obvious, or they were knocking on, like a Coca-Cola brand that's logo that's now a jiu-jitsu shirt, or Starbucks or whatever there. And it's fine. Like, it's fine to have those. I just felt that they, why not expand on it and put some stuff out there and create a brand that people can wear that's like a lifestyle, not so obvious, that, sort of appeals to a wider audience. And so that was kind of the intention behind that.
Yeah, and that was, when did you start? A couple years ago?
It's only been maybe 3.5 years. Yeah, it went from being the idea. I came up with the name and then bought the URL, and I was going to make jiu-jitsu videos with a buddy of mine, Philip, who I train with, who's a black belt with us, and we were gonna do like beginner, intermediate, and advanced level video library, which is so crazy because there's so many people out there doing that are like world champions, and this was kind of before all those were really prominent out on the market. So I'm very glad that I didn't do that, because that would have just been sort of silly. Like, who am I? But it went around that time I had found out about drop shipping. I don't know if you're familiar with drop shipping at all.
No, please explain.
Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know, drop shipping is sort of a way to sell products without holding inventory. So for a clothing company that has to hold inventory, if you have a t-shirt that comes in 6 sizes and 7 colors, that's a lot of potential inventory to have to anticipate who's going to buy what. So with drop shipping, you can set up a store online with a variety of products, and there's a little bit of work. There's quite a bit of work involved in setting it up and going through it. But once you have that, you effectively can launch these products and sell them. And the companies, the vendors and manufacturers that you work with, say within the platform of Shopify, will, when somebody orders, for example, somebody orders a shirt of mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
The company will get the exact shirt and size. They'll print that exact design. They'll package it. They'll send it to the customer. They'll take their portion of the profits, and then they'll send me mine. So you potentially lose out on your profit margins, but it also gives you an opportunity to sell products without holding a ton of inventory, which, I have over 50 different shirt designs. To hold inventory, I mean, it would just be insane, right? To do that. I have to do that with rash guards and fight shorts and gis, which is very expensive to do, but those are not drop ship items. Those are not items that are very readily available in the US and on platforms like drop shipping. So around the time that I had found out about drop shipping, I kind of realized that I could maybe integrate some of, even just the Epic Roll logo into this format, and number one, print some shirts out just for myself, and then perhaps set up a store online. So I had a ton of reasons and research when I found out about drop shipping of why a woman's clothing store was the best choice for me to set up. So I literally went through, because I had, women buy lots of workout gear and it's a very marketable product. And there was just all this research. So I was like, this will be perfect, right? I'll just set up this. I'll have this women's clothing store online. Don't have to touch it, do much. That'll be great. I set it up, made it look all professional, launched it. And it was just crickets. It was just nothing. I mean, like literally nothing. And I was like, man, what is going on? And I remember watching a video and hearing a couple of people say it is really important to like what you're drop shipping. And I didn't really understand why, because it seemed sort of like a detached, inanimate thing where you would just, set it up and whatever. You don't have to like what you're selling or whatever. You could sell hangers, but if you're making a bunch of money, who cares? But it just, for whatever reason, that kind of resonated with me. And I thought, all right, well, maybe I can shift this women's clothing thing that I know obviously zero things about, and shift that to something that I do know about with Jiu Jitsu. So I think that helped kind of switch my gears a bit. And I took Epic Roll from intending to be sort of a clothing brand that had a lot more ranked gear for each one of the belts, because obviously you're at these belts for sometimes a really long time. And so to create some particular designs that sort of embraced or, that journey, that was sort of the intention. And then it sort of spawned, from there. So drop shipping can be very useful. And it obviously was an integral part of allowing me to grow Epic Roll to kind of even what it is today, for sure.
That's awesome. And now the only part that was confusing to me was, does the customer has nothing to do with this, right? They would just click and buy your products as is, right? And then
they have no
certain
idea.
They don't certain products different. You have on dropship and certain products you have on inventory.
Correct. So, and they set up emails. Like I have emails set up so when things ship, it lets people know. So there's a lot of back end stuff that you can do to try and bridge the gap between that. It is a little inconvenient, it is different. Like I can, send a rash guard quicker than maybe a hoodie could get made and sent to somebody. But there are different vendors or manufacturers, whatever you want to call them, that work within these platforms like Shopify, and they all create different products and they all offer different products and they all offer different user experiences with how you add products to your store and that whole back end software. So you have to find one that works well for you. And it took me going through a few different companies to land on one that has international and multiple domestic distribution outlets. So if somebody in California orders something, it would go to the distribution outlet on the West Coast versus the one in South Carolina that the East Coast one hits. So that helps out logistically a little bit.
Was that random?
I don't know, bro.
There actually is one in South Carolina.
No, I could probably find the address, but it's Printful, and it's in South Carolina.
That's where I'm at.
For their East. Yeah. Maybe it's around the corner for this.
Maybe it's around the corner. Maybe.
I would expect you to get your shit really quick.
Yeah, right. It should be. I just pick it up. You send these, whatever you want to call them, vendors, you send them your designs and then they make it. That's how it works?
No, I design everything on my computer here and I will upload it on their site and kind of build the shirts or hoodies or everything. Like you're putting the designs on the area where you and again there's some limitations to where you can print things and depending on the product, but all the designs I build kind of on my computer and then I upload it and create the sort of catalog online through that.
Gotcha.
Yep.
What's it like finding someone to make a gi? Is that pretty tough or is it pretty easy, and are they all from Pakistan?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
There are some other places, my stuff is made down the street from where Show Your Roll has it made. It's unfortunate. I mean, origin was able to acquire a loom to make their own, thread and their own material to make these gis. And it's just something that is not readily available for most companies. It is tough to find somebody, I think, because out of the, let's just say 10 legit companies over there, there's 90,000 that are looking to scam you or that are terrible or whatever, and I send a tremendous amount of money back and forth with my guy, who I've been working with for this entire time. So if you can get a referral from somebody who's already gone through the trouble of acquiring a manufacturer, that's always great. I mean, I've hooked quite a few people up with my guy for this, for their own one-off stuff, or for maybe a school that wanted to get a couple of gis printed, things like that, because I understand what a, process it can be to find somebody. So I'm lucky in the sense that I have a guy who I work with and we communicate very well and everything is great. Money transfers, you have to wire stuff. There are some inconveniences for sure. I do hope that one day soon I'll be able to maybe at least get the rash guards and fight shorts made in the US with some of the other products. That's sort of my goal for this next year, is because logistically that would just help a tremendous amount just in shipping time and things like that. I'd be willing to pay more to do that than try to deal with the overseas stuff.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was just a huge stereotype or if that was actually true. I think we've all heard Jocko say they're all from Pakistan except for origin. But it's like, is he just saying that, or is it what I mean?
No, he was pretty much right.
Damn, that's rough, man. I mean, it's not rough. I wasn't trying to. I didn't want it to sound like a knock. It was just, I was wondering if that was the reality of it.
I mean, Apple gets a ton of parts for our iPhone from China. You know what I mean? It's just like it is, unfortunately, until we make some big changes with manufacturing and sourcing products and things like that, this is always going to be the case. It sucks, and nobody wants to really admit that most of the stuff we use probably is tied in with like some child labor, terrible stuff, but it's the reality. I do know where our stuff is made and with the group of people, and they are adults, so I do feel good. I do feel good about that.
That is good. That is better than having some 7-year-old out there making it for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Turning a profit on it. That's funny. Let's get into some jiu-jitsu stuff if you want.
Yeah.
Let's get into some. This is interesting because you've been training for so long. So it's like almost like I want to pick your brain. Let's see. What do you feel about jiu-jitsu stereotypes? Because I run a meme page, so I make a living off of it, basically. Not a living, like I don't get paid, but the stereotypes are always there. Are any of them true? Are any of them overplayed? Or any of them, or are there some that aren't brought up enough for someone who's been in the game for 16 years?
There are, I think there's definitely some validity behind some of the stereotypes, like a spazzy white belt. Let's just start with that one. That's a thing, but that's a very understandable thing. It's a thing, but it's an understandable thing because somebody who is not trained in jiu-jitsu, who is now thrust into a situation of rolling, is going to be in a very fight or flight scenario where your strength and your things that are going to come into play that you will learn eventually how to use efficiently, control breathing, be comfortable, all these different aspects of it. But in the beginning, you're just freaking out and trying to figure out what to do. So that's, totally normal. So I think that's definitely one. I don't know that there's, I'm happy to address any specific ones that are popping up that you're thinking of, but I think
blue belt's quitting.
Blue belt's quitting. Yeah. Well, okay. Jiu-jitsu, I don't know if many people sit down and explain to a new student what to expect when they start jiu-jitsu, but I found that when I have the opportunity to speak to somebody who's just starting, I can set the stage a little bit for them in what to expect. And I think it can be very helpful to people, because if you come in and you have no idea, like if you don't check your ego at the door, basically you can go home hurt a lot. I would go home, not being able to turn my neck or swallow because I fought so hard to get out of this guillotine by some purple belt and I'm a white belt. And it was just silly. Like, I didn't need to do that. I could have trained a little bit smarter, but I was a 25-year-old idiot. So of course I didn't. So I think with these belts and all this, if you can sit and explain to people that no matter what, you're more than likely going to hit roadblocks throughout the entire process. Like almost every belt, I think I would say, you get to a point where you feel like you're not learning anymore, or you can't learn anymore. You're just like at a lull, And my advice to those people when that happens is always jiu-jitsu, especially now. When I started, there wasn't all these YouTube videos and all this stuff that was available. So now, if you are feeling stuck or in a little bit of a tight spot, all you have to do is go on and pick something that you are entertained by. For example, triangles. Well, you can go and just nerd out on triangles for a while and watch all these videos and figure out all the different entries and positional things, so that by the time you're done with that, you're maybe a little bit more proficient at that aspect of your game, and you're probably moved through that little hump of feeling like you're not getting any better, because it just happens throughout all of it. So I think blue belt's one of those belts where you're no longer a white belt, so you're no longer a newbie, right? You now have this like foot in the door. You now have like a place in the building as somebody who's a little bit more established there, and that's a really cool moment. It's like the first big moment in a jiu-jitsu journey. But from blue belt to purple belt, there's really, especially I would say maybe in our organization, and I know it's different everywhere, but there are some huge expectations and improvements, I think, from blue to purple belt. And so that process, not everybody is willing to put in the time that it takes to get there. I'm of the mind that if you start jiu-jitsu and you get to a blue belt and you love it, more than likely, outside of maybe some catastrophic incident or your health or some issue, you would probably continue doing it. Like, I could not imagine not doing jiu-jitsu in my life. I just couldn't imagine what that would, be like. It would be terrible. I love it so much that I could not imagine. So, but it takes time. So I think just people understanding that, no matter what your belt rank is, your jiu-jitsu is your jiu-jitsu. Your abilities are what they are. And instead of getting caught up in the belt, focus just on your game, get really good, because it's always better to be the lower belt tapping the higher belts than the other way around. I have rolled with some black belts, because I travel a lot. I go all over the country, or different countries, different states. And I have trained with some black belts that personally, I would not feel comfortable wearing a black belt if that were my level of jiu-jitsu. It's just like we just have higher expectations for people, at least in our affiliation.
Sure,
we do.
But that's better. I completely agree. And me, even I almost don't even want to give an opinion because of the amount of experience you have compared to me. I'm just, like I said, I'm just 3 years in. I've been a blue belt longer than I was ever a white belt, but I've, even in my short amount of time, certainly compared to you, I've seen friends go through I feel like I should have my blue belt by now. And it's like, dude, just chill out, man. Like, what if it was on you right now? You're not any better than you were yesterday. So, and it's always better. I'd rather be, just like you said, I'd rather be held at a belt longer. It's cool. It's fun to be the white belt that's tapping blue belts. That's fun. It's not fun to be the blue belt getting tapped out by white belts. That's not cool. Of course it happens.
100%.
But
well, it does. And there's times where, size and strength and all those, I mean, you can get some really aggressive, strong, athletic 22-year-old purple belt who probably get the best of a black belt once in a while, who's like in his 40s or what. I mean, just, that kind of stuff happens, but there is just a technical level and a defensive level. And there's certain expectations, I think, with each belt. And if you're if you're sitting around at white belt saying I should get my blue belt, and you keep that theme kind of going in your head where you're sort of deciding, what you should be, it's the wrong mindset, because you need to be in a school where you have an understanding maybe of the progression, but that you have full confidence in your instructor, because it's really on them they want you to get better. Like our instructor, Sean Stoopman, wants us to beat him. He's not going to let us beat him, but he wants us to beat him. Like you can tell with certain people that want to cultivate growth and they want their students to get better. And then there are other schools where, you have these bout of the belt type of instructors where they don't seem to pay attention, and it's all ego driven, and that's the environment. So I think it's important to be comfortable in a place where you feel supported and where you feel that you understand the process. Because excuse me, from a business standpoint, jiu-jitsu has become more and more popular. So when I started, it was sort of a different time where people weren't as nice. It was like nitty gritty. It was kind of like, if you didn't make it, you just didn't make it. Like, you don't want to come back tomorrow, don't come back tomorrow. Now we're like very nice to people and welcoming and so accommodating. And it's a very different type of thing. But I think just staying focused and making sure that you just get good. I mean, there's so much to jiu-jitsu. There is so much. And I think that as when you become a black belt, when you get to that level, you're almost starting over, because now you're refining all of these details, and there's just so much to know and so much to practice. And so it's really important to do that. And I think what also helps humble people is competition, competing. Like, don't just say you're a blue belt, go out and compete as a blue belt or compete as a white belt and win and show, because that's that's where you're outside of your comfort zone, where you're not with your training partners, where you guys all know each other's game. Now you're in this is an unknown. This is why I always thought, this is why I competed at every single belt level, because it's a test. It shows you your true abilities under duress in a situation that's not familiar, like your gym with your own training partners. So that's another really good way to sort of maybe humble yourself and keep things in perspective of where you are as well.
In the competition, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the, maybe excuses might not be the right word, but a lot of the, for lack of a better word, excuses that are thrown around are now gone. He knows my game. He weighs 20 pounds more than me. Everyone's a little bit bigger than me. And I was getting him, then he figured it out. If he was closer to my size and if he didn't know my game, I'd have him. In competition, you have a weight class and you don't know your opponent, right? So it's really just the best you versus someone else. Agree or disagree?
100%. That's why I fought MMA, was because I wanted to. I'd never been in really any substantial fights growing up, and I wanted to see how can I fight against another fighter, not like in a bar against some drunk idiot. Yeah. Can I fight against another fighter? How does that work? So. But those are personal things, some people get into jiu-jitsu. I had a guy send me a message on Instagram the other day who was asking for some advice about training, because he's in his 30s, and he was asking about the intensity of training and how often. And so I was kind of breaking down the different aspects of training smart and tapping early and not trying to be a hero, and just all those things, because it's about longevity, like to keep things going, not to go in and be a hero. So I do think that really the right mindset for jiu-jitsu is super important to go in there. But I think it's almost unavoidable, man. There's not too many martial arts out there, or things in general, bro. Like 16 years I've been doing jiu-jitsu, I'm getting my black belt in like 20 days, right? And 16 years, like I could have become a fucking doctor or quicker than I could have, than you can become a black. Granted, not everybody's journey is the same, right? Everybody's different, but even 10 years, 12 years, like it's a long time to be training something to get to that level. So you just have to accept that and realize that, especially now that the game has evolved, there's a lot to learn. And jiu-jitsu is so fun too. There's not, like you don't, because of how many resources are out there and because of YouTube, there's so much. So I think it really probably has helped a lot more people not feel stuck and be able to train jiu-jitsu. I mean, I met a guy who came to visit who was from Germany, and he watched Chewy videos. That was how he started doing jiu-jitsu, like for like a year. His buddies and him would watch the videos and just practice it. And that was never a thing. So it's cool because these things are out there now, and I think it's cool because it's helping the jiu-jitsu community grow. Right? It's helping everybody. It's a cool resource, and I think it helps people when they are feeling stuck. So for all you blue belts out there, don't quit. Keep it going.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you said that, because I wanted to circle back to one thing, and I don't think this is an original idea. I'm sure I heard it somewhere. I can't think of where, so I can't give it credit, but I'm sure I heard it somewhere, and it made sense. Do you think the blue belt quitting thing is because a white belt has been training for a little bit? They want that blue belt so bad, and it's just, it's like the first step, really. And they want it. And it's just like, I think I deserve it, whatever. And they get it. And it's like, it's like that's it. Like, you hit your goal, and then you go back to train, you wear your blue belt, you're cool. And then realistically, you realize, and I'm a blue belt, so I'm basically shitting on myself, you're still not that good. You still get your ass kicked. And then it's like, wait, it's the same old shit. And then you're like, purple belt is so far away. And then it's like, fuck this, I'm out. Is that some truth?
Just like less of a white belt.
Exactly. Yeah. 5-stripe white belt.
Right. Well, I never had stripes throughout my entire time. The brown belt was the only time that I had stripes. And there was a conscious business decision made at the time with the school, where we were talking and discussing the progression of the students and how, whether to do stripes or not. And my opinion was that from a business standpoint, if the goal is to get more people in jiu-jitsu and keep them going, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to incorporate the stripes, as it just represents some milestones and progression for people. It's just a tangible for people, to give them a little bit of encouragement and continue on. You could have people argue that, oh, that's stupid, you shouldn't need that, you just be your blue belt as long as you need, be your purple belt as long as you need, and that's it. I mean, that's how it was for me, right? There was no stripes. It was just you're this. And I was a purple belt for 6 or 7 years. Like, so it's a long time to go through these belts. So I do think that the stripes can be helpful, just because it's a long time. It takes people a long time, and not everybody gets into it to start fighting. Not everybody gets it to compete. Some people are just doing it for self-defense. Some people are doing it for health and fitness. I mean, a variety of reasons. So I do think that can be helpful, and the encouragement of just keeping people going, and because it's a lot. Jiu-jitsu is very demanding martial art, physically, emotionally, the time away from your family, it's a lot. And so I think it can be a good thing for people, just for recognition, because you just never know. So with these people who get to become a blue belt, it's fun for me. It's like a brand new car, right? And then one day you walk out and the car is just sitting there, and you're like, well, it's just my car, right? Like, now you're a blue belt, and you have a long road to get to the next belt, and it is what it is. And that's why, from the beginning, if you can just recognize how vast jiu-jitsu is as a discipline, there's so much to learn, that just enjoy that. Like, get obsessed with being good at jiu-jitsu, and before you know it, the belts will be there.
1000% agree. Although I'm not the biggest fan of stripes, I'll tell you why, and then we'll see if it makes any sense to you. You came up without them. So I've seen people, and it's just that bad attitude, right? So and so got a stripe and I didn't, that kind of thing. So, and I've gotten stripes 3 different times. I have 3 stripes on my blue belt, and none of them meant anything to me. As a white belt, it felt awesome to get a stripe. I was like, whoa, that's cool. And then like after blue, I didn't care anymore, and I was like, whatever. But I've seen people that they get just way too wrapped up in it. Like, I tapped that guy out 3 times yesterday. Why does he have one more stripe than me? So I'm like, I would rather just, it's a blue belt versus a blue belt. There's no stripes. Whoever's better is better. Doesn't matter. That's how I look at it. Just because I personally I'm not wrapped up in the stripe thing and the belt thing. And some people are, unfortunately, but you said earlier, if you love it, you love it. It shouldn't matter. But the people that do get wrapped up, it's almost like a jealousy thing. And I would just rather just not have it personally.
If I can see that, and I have seen people say the same thing, like I tapped that guy or whatever. So if you're talking about those people are like blue belts talking about other blue belts. It's you know, I think that people's grappling maturity grows over time, and if you're a 1-stripe blue belt wondering how the hell you tapped out a 3-stripe blue belt, like, that's not the right thing to be thinking about, right? That's silliness. That's like that of course you did, and he's going to get you and you're going to get him. You guys, you know, don't like, there is not some pronounced difference between a 1-stripe blue belt and maybe a 2-stripe blue belt or a 3-stripe. I mean, it's you're it's progression, but that's where you have to be confident in your instructor that they're paying attention to. We have a very attentive instructor you don't ever have to worry that he doesn't see you, even in a big class of students. This is so annoying. You'll be rolling with him and he's literally looking around the room because he's so damn good that he's just watching the room. He's like checking emails and stuff and then just submitting you at the same time. It's nuts. But he's always paying attention to people. So you don't ever have to worry like, oh, am I sitting here and I should have another stripe. But all of that stuff, that's like new jiu-jitsu mindset type stuff that I think eventually starts to go away because you start to mature and you know, but it's kind of a little, it's a little nonsense. So I agree that the not having stripes allows all the belts to just be the belts. And, you know, if you go to a school, I think that the stripes are now kind of popular enough that it's probably different. Like, so if you walk in and you've been a purple belt for 6 years and you have no stripes because your school doesn't do stripes, and you walk in and some other school that does, and you have a 3-stripe purple belt or a 4-stripe purple belt, they're going to think they're going to own your, you know, take your lunch, like for sure. So you know, so I think it can be a good thing to help people, but on the other side of that is like, don't get lost in the stripes. Like, don't get so caught up and start going, you know, I mean, brown belts tap black belts, black belt, you know, I mean, just things happen. Like, it's
too mental for me. It's too mental.
Yeah.
I've had friends in competition. Like, I saw my opponent weigh in. He's got 4 stripes on his belt. I don't have any yet. He's probably way better. I'm like, dude, chill out. You're the same belt. You know what I mean? Like, it's too mental for me. It's too much of a. And then I've had good friends that are like, I'm not really sure why I didn't get striped today when other people did. I'm like, dude, you can have mine. Like, it's just annoying to be around that mindset. You know. Yeah. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I'm like, I wish we just didn't have this shit.
Yeah. No, I know. Well, you have the right mind for it, you know, so that's a good thing that'll help you as you kind of continue on, and you just got to get kind of share that stuff with other people when you hear it.
Try. Because I'm like you. I stepped in the gym one day and I was just as obsessed that day as I am today. I've never had like it didn't grow on me. I didn't have like well, I'm not that good, I should quit. Like, I do it because I have fun with it. Like, you can put whatever color. That's how I look at it. You can put whatever you want around my waist. I'm still as good as I am, or as bad as I am. You know, it doesn't matter. I come there to have fun.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Too much mental stuff, man. I'm not a fan of it.
I know, right?
I'm not a fan of it. And then I get the shit suggested to me on YouTube, and that even drives me nuts. It's like, suggest a video, Jocko, like how long till I should get my blue belt? I'm like, why are people looking this shit up? Just go train. Just go train.
I know. It's and you know, the longer you train and the higher you get, then then you have a target on your back, right? Then you really get to a point where you're a brown belt or a black belt, like, and you go to other places, man, you know, it's like you have to always be a brown belt or a black belt. It's a lot.
It's better to be held back, I think. We had a guy, I'll give him a shout out. His name is Mason. I just moved to South Carolina this year. I started training in Washington State. We had a guy named Mason who came from Victory MMA, Jocko's gym. Blue belt, no stripes, savage. I mean, like, no blue belts could even hang with the guy. It was like, this guy's not a real blue belt. What's this guy doing in here? Like, he's faking it. And he got his purple belt from our instructor really quick because he was tapping out our brown belts. It was like, what are they doing over there at Jocko's gym? Or is this guy just, I've never trained there. Is this guy just, special, or are they all that good? And he hadn't been trained like a crazy amount of time, but he was just really good. And then that's what, even when I got caught up in the belt, I'm like, how's this guy a blue belt? Like, I'm nowhere near this guy's level. And then it was like the thing to watch him start rolling with like the brown belts and like tapping them. It's like, this is just crazy. And that's like, and he didn't give a shit. He didn't care. When people kissed his ass, like, he hated it. He's like, we're all here to get better, like, whatever.
Well, if he is, I mean, it's either a sandbag or he's like not, or if it's not even his fault, like nobody's promoted him. But yeah, if you have a blue belt that's out there just consistently tapping brown belts, probably not a blue belt.
It was crazy. I've been to other gyms and stuff. I've never seen anything like it. It was like, what is it? Yeah. And then, like I said, he competed, and then one of our instructors who trains in the morning had never seen him before, and he was like talking about coaching him. And I'm like, dude, he's going to run through these guys. It's not even going to be close. And he was like, no way. Yeah. And it was not even close. It was like, these guys are going home like, why'd that guy sign up for the blue belt division? This is whack. It was just one crazy thing. He'd been training like 3.5 years, nothing insane. According to him, I guess he could have lied. I doubt it, but
sure.
I don't know if it was just, sometimes you get those people that learn quick and they're just exceptional and, a young, real fit dude, but it's just like, it felt like rolling with a black belt, rolling with that guy. It was like, it got nothing for him. And then he trains purple belts and they'd be like, I got this guy. And I was like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
But if someone like that is not like, it's not, I'm sorry, I keep circling back to the promotion thing, because it really does bother me, because I have good friends that are still hung up on it, and I'm like trying to beat it in their head, like, dude, stop that shit. White belts, blue belts, all of them. Guys like Kolabate, blue belt, constantly winning tournaments against black belts. Do you think he's like, where's my purple belt? He's like, no, I know how good I am. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Your guy, Mason Fowler, he just recently got his black belt, but he was in beating black belts for a long time. And you think he was going, but coach, I was beating all these black belts. Where's my black belt? I'm clearly good enough. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure those guys don't give a shit. Would you think so? Or?
Yeah, we were talking about it like earlier this year, him and I, and I've been a brown belt even longer than him, and he's out there winning all these tournaments, all these brown belt tournaments. And I was thinking to myself, like, man, when are you going to get your black belt? And he's like, man, I don't know. And he's like, Kyle Terra wanted him to do a few more tournaments at brown belt, and clearly he was deserving of the black belt. But when he got his, I was like, I sent him a text. I was like, you son of a bitch. I was like, you got yours like 30 days before me. And he's like, haha. He goes, I'm gonna be your senior. And I was like, yeah, but I'm 41. I'm older than you. So I was like, so I'm your elder, bitch.
He's a fun guy to follow.
Yeah, he's a cool dude, man. He's awesome. I love that guy.
Tell him to follow me on Instagram. What the hell?
I'll tell him. I'll let him know.
Well, he's one of those guys. He likes my memes and shit. I'm like, is that hard to drop a follow, dude? I'm trying to get clout over here.
That's fun. Yeah, it takes time.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up soon. I do have an open mat to get to. I kind of want to hear MMA journey, because this is mostly an MMA podcast, because the guy I do it with, he's not here for a reason. He doesn't train jiu-jitsu. So I've interviewed Lachlan Giles on here. I've interviewed Tex Johnson, and it's just like, he doesn't have a whole lot of questions to ask because he doesn't train. He's just an MMA fan as well as I am. That's what got me in the jiu-jitsu door in the first place, just being such a big MMA fan. I'm like, I want to train something
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird when I have a guy who doesn't train jiu-jitsu. We're interviewing these jiu-jitsu guys, you know. Tell us about, because you know, it's, there's some things you get that sound so douchey to say, but like I've been in fights growing up and stuff, you know, quite a few, but I feel like I've never fought MMA before, and I feel like the nerves and the process is just so different. And I couldn't imagine, like, for one, it's like this is a trained guy as well. You know his name. Maybe at the amateur you don't have footage, but you know, this day you're stepping in there fighting him. Like that's different than the spontaneous fight on the street. Like it's just like it happened, whatever. But it's like, no, you're fighting on this day and you got to get ready for it. Like what's that whole process like? What are the nerves like? How many times did you fight? And just give me all that, because
Yeah. So I trained jiu-jitsu for 1 year, and at the end of that year, probably because I was 25, like I think that was, you know, it's just at that age where I realized what jiu-jitsu was, right? I trained for a year, so I had this like beginning of this little superpower. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I think around that time, the Ultimate Fighter reality show was popping on TV, and I was kind of digging that. And I had a school where I helped teach with my instructor Sal at the time, who was Kenny Florian's cousin. So I got to hang with him and train with him a lot. And so I was just like, man, I want to fight. I got to push myself, and just I want to see what this is like. And my jiu-jitsu instructor at the time said, all right, I want you to train 1 more year of jiu-jitsu, because I was gonna, you know, fight through them and with the people. So they were like, train jiu-jitsu 1 more year, and then you can fight. I was like, okay. So
so you had already been training 1 year, right? And then he wanted you to do another.
I had already been training 1 year, decided I wanted to fight, and they said train 1 more year, so I'd have 2 years of jiu-jitsu training under my belt to go into a fight. And I got my blue belt, I think a day or 2 before my first MMA fight. And it was at the Dulles Sportsplex over here at this Valhalla 1. It was like the very first Valhalla fight here in Dulles, Virginia. And I remember watching, it was a pretty big place, and I remember watching the guy before me fight, and he had come in. He didn't seem like he was with the school or had a camp or anything, but he got way overwhelmed in there and left on a stretcher with oxygen. And so I'm watching this guy get pulled out of the ring on a stretcher with like oxygen. I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? I'm like, oh my God, this is like not what you want to see right before you're about to go in the ring. But I was in the zone, bro. I was like, I had trained really hard. I was at a young age where I was training, 5-6 days a week, jiu-jitsu. I had a wrestling coach, I had a boxing coach. I had, we were training MMA at one place and jiu-jitsu at another. And so I felt pretty prepared. And I got in there, and I remember being in the corner of the ring and kind of like looking down at my hands and looking down at my feet. And then the bell rang, and I was just like watching my feet. Like it was like my body was walking forward, and I wasn't even in control of it. I was just looking at my feet, and I was like, oh shit, they're moving without me. Like I didn't, like I'm moving to the center of the ring. And that feeling I had of just like, what am I doing? Like there's a whole huge room of people here, and now I got to fight this guy. And this is going to be, it's a very surreal like experience, like it's very surreal. And we went out and clinched. I ended up taking him down. We rolled a little bit. And I had him in my closed guard and waited for an opportunity to catch his arm and do an elevator sweep. And I got into mount. And I think it rained down maybe like 40 or 50 punches, and the ref just stopped the fight because he just couldn't defend himself anymore. He couldn't get me out of mount and just taking punches. And so I had 4 fights total. I lost 1 fight to a decision from a state champion wrestler, this guy that I'm actually still friends with, and had like a battle for sure. So it was really, it was really good advice to have a good solid base in jiu-jitsu, because it was utilized heavily in my 4 fights. Awesome. But I got to a point where I just realized that it was really fun. It was exhilarating. It's like a experience that, you can't emulate through anything else. And it's better, right? That you don't want to go out to some bar fight and knock somebody out and they hit their head on the concrete, brain swells, they die, and then you're in prison. You know what I mean? Because you got into an argument at IHOP. It's stupid. So
legally.
Yeah, just legally. So so it was really, it was cool. I liked preparing for it. I felt like that was a really cool thing to that box to check, in my life personally. And it gave me sort of a level of confidence in just my own abilities as a human being and taking care of my family and defending myself. And, but I got to a point where I recognized, and I would even give Kenny Florian credit for talks that I had with him about his personal journey and what a struggle being a fighter is, and him having his lights cut off and not being able to pay bills and all this different stuff. It's a tough journey, right? He's obviously a super successful guy now, but listening to him talk about this and recognizing that I wasn't ready to go off and be a UFC fighter, right? This wasn't gonna be my journey. This was more about a personal accomplishment than a career path per se. So I enjoyed it. It was awesome, but I thought I'm going to hang up the MMA hat and just train jiu-jitsu, stick with that. And so glad I did it. I think it's a cool experience for people. I've had some crazy thoughts where I'm like, maybe I'll pop in and do another one. And I'm like, yeah, don't be an idiot. No, you're not. I'm going to stick with just high level jiu-jitsu tournaments, I think.
Well, man, if you don't have anything else, I'm gonna wrap this up.
Yeah, bro.
It was awesome having you on, and if I'm not overstaying my welcome, I'd love to do it again.
Absolutely, brother.
There's not enough time in a day. Man. There's not enough time,
I know. Well, listen, that open mat is calling. You got to get to that. I understand that.
I got to
get it rolling for me.
Absolutely, man. Look, thanks a bunch. Whenever I post this, I'll tag you and all that shit. It'll be available everywhere. All that stuff. If you want to give it a share, that'd be cool. Of course.
Yes, sir. Of course.
Yeah, let's do this again, man. If you don't mind,
let's do it again. Happy to, man. Happy to.
Awesome, dude.
Absolutely, brother. Sounds good.
I'm gonna check out some of your gear. I don't have any yet, so I'm gonna check out some of your gear. It seems everyone enjoys it, so
bro. I'll hook you up with some stuff. Just let me know what you want.
Oh well, whatever you want to do, man. I'm not asking for shit. You know what I'm saying? But
I'm gonna hook you up with some stuff. I'll give you the homie starter pack.
Okay, I'll take a homie starter pack. I won't say no to it. That's for sure. Tell Mason Powell to follow me and stop. If you're gonna like my memes, you gotta follow me, dude. Come on.
I'll tell him to follow you. I'll tag you on his in a message. I'll tell him to follow you.
I'm 50% serious. I'm not that wrapped up in
I'm 50% confident I can make it happen.
Okay. All right, Matt. Hey, let's do this again, man. Thanks for everything.
All right, brother. Have a happy New Year, bro.
Thanks, man. You too. See you later.